Welcome to another episode of the Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired podcast. The podcast all about learning how to live a happy, healthy, and inspired life. I'm your host, Brad, a once upon a time overweight, lethargic, low self-esteem couch potato that turned it all around. My mission now is to empower you, the listener, with the strategies, tips, and advice for what it takes so that you too can live happy, healthy, and inspired. Today's episode, we dive into what it takes to build lasting confidence with personal trainer Michelle Monholland. She shares her inspiring story of growing her confidence and personal power through exercise and mindset shifts. Key takeaways from today's episode include how consistent exercise can dramatically improve your confidence, actionable tips to start building self-assurance today, and the mindset shifts Michelle embraced to break through and transform her life. Stay tuned until the end to hear Michelle's most powerful advice for gaining greater confidence in your life. Welcome, everybody. Another episode of the Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired podcast. And today I have coming from literally my own city here in Tulsa, Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And we were talking a little bit off camera, and I mentioned that, I've been doing the podcast for a couple of years, and I'm always looking for, guests and inspiring story and journey and everything. And fate, destiny, law of attraction, it brought me to your Facebook profile. But you are a fitness coach and a health trainer and things of that nature. But what I really like is this idea of confidence. You mentioned about this idea of helping to empower women with more confidence through the art of exercise. So let's just kind of start off there, Michelle, and see where
Okay.
this is. What do we need to know about confidence? What are we lacking in confidence? How do we get more confidence? I don't know. Let's start with that and go from there.
I think we all need a little bit more confidence in a lot of areas of our life. We can be confident in one area, but not necessarily in another.
Good point. That's very
Okay.
true, actually. Yeah.
And where I lacked confidence in my physical health and my physical appearance years ago, but once I started strength training, I discovered how more confident I felt in just my overall decision-making skills. And I've been training for 11 years now, that as I've trained women through the years, watching their confidence in themselves grow as they became stronger physically. And that's when I was like, I believe I can help women become more confident just through the act of exercise alone.
Okay. What about the women who are afraid of exercise or just people in general?
Okay, well, I was afraid of exercise. I hated
There
it.
you go. Yeah.
Okay, I literally hated it until I chose to do it. And that's really, it's just how do we become more confident at doing something? We do it and we do it over and we do it over and we do it over again. And we all have a little fear of something. And usually I ask them just to give me a chance, just give it a chance, find something you like and see if you can get better at it. And if they don't like the type of exercise I do, we can find something else to do.
Do you think that relates to like the inner confidence then? Like doing something over and over again, that makes sense, like repetition. But what about like the inner confidence? Like sometimes like women or even men too will have a voice that says, I'm not good enough or something like that. How do you think confidence plays into that, or does it?
I have dealt with that myself. I think every human being walking this earth is going to deal with that at one
Absolutely,
point
yeah.
or another. We My personal opinion is that we take the opinions of others and we internalize them, and that can kind of knock our confidence down a level. And we're told from the very beginning that we're not good enough. Social media plays to that, marketing plays to that. It's a way for us to spend money on more things. So if we can make a person feel less than, then they're going to do something to feel more than. And
They're gonna buy something to feel more.
yeah, that's just my belief. And so for me, confidence comes from knowing that I'm okay with who I am right now.
That's huge. I love that. How did you get to that place?
Well, I'm 53 and it took quite a long time to get there. Um,
You don't look 53. Wow.
oh, thank you. Exercise. No,
There you go. Yeah.
but just, I don't know how to, confidence for me came over time and being willing to fail, but being willing to start again.
And I'll add a word that maybe you're not saying right now, but it's written all over your face is vulnerable.
What?
Vulnerable. Would you say that?
Vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that, but I can see it shining through you right now. So what's the expression? We like fall down, get up, or something like that. Like fall down 7 times, get up eight.
Fall down 7 times, get up eight. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Or it's not like how life knocks you down. It's how you get up and respond, or something like
Yeah.
that. Has that kind of been your journey a little bit then?
Yes. It has been my journey. Yes. I refuse to give up.
And how did you develop that was it through exercising? How did you develop that I refuse to give up mindset mentality?
Marathon training.
Ah, you're
That's
on.
that's that's
Ah,
what did it for me. I used to be obese, and some things happened in life that just sent me in a different trajectory. Like I had to go a different way. And I discovered exercise by my son being a cross country runner. And he was 15 at the time. He's 28 now.
okay.
And we used to be very close. But when he started running, typical teen kid pulling away from mom a little bit. So I asked him to show me how to run. And I was, I think, 40 at the time. And
That's
so
crazy. That's the
I was
same
like,
age I started
yeah.
actually. Crazy.
We generally do. 40 is like a huge turning point in people's lives. But he just kind of teased me a little bit and said I couldn't run very far. And I said, well, I'll run a marathon. And I went on to run 7+1 ultra. And it's just every time I pushed myself, that gave me more confidence. It's like I was capable of seeing what I was able to do. And I am willing to do the hard things in order to see growth in myself.
Okay, that's huge, and I can see that coming through your facial expressions and everything like that. Well, let me backtrack. Then you mentioned at the beginning about you learned to love exercise.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of women listening to this right now, and I'm a running coach. I do a monthly run coach clinic in Massapopa, which by the way we're hiring for someone else. So if you're interested, let me know.
I
That's
am a certified run coach. So,
okay, well, we'll talk off camera about that because we are
okay.
hiring someone right now. But anyway, how did you learn to love exercise? Because I see a lot of women listening to this and they're like, oh God, I'm not going to get up and run, or oh God, I'm not going to go to the gym, or unfortunately, for better or worse, women have a different what's the word I'm looking for? They're perceived differently in a gym, I think, than men are. For better or for worse, like I said. And so they have to deal with that too. More stigmatism. Maybe that's the word I'm looking
Mhm.
for. How did you learn to love exercise? How did you overcome all of that? And how did you, I mean, if I can say you're kicking ass in the world, how did you get to be the person you are now? And how can someone listening right now like walk in your shoes, I guess?
When I first started going to the gym, in my 20s, my early 20s, I did exercise like cycle, run, go to the gym. But you go back 30 some years, it was unusual to see a woman in the weight room.
Yeah, well, okay.
And I
Okay.
mean, really,
Yeah.
especially locally. And I enjoyed that. But then as I went through my 20s and I started working, more, I worked 60 hours a week for an insurance company and then got married, had babies, the typical thing that went away. And then I didn't pick up until my 40s. When I walked into the gym for one of the first times, I embarrassed myself on a machine and I turned and walked right out of that gym and didn't come back for a year
Oh no.
because I was so embarrassed. And nobody remembers me. Nobody remembers what happened, but I remembered. And I tell myself now how that stole time from me, just letting embarrassment get in the way. But when I went back, I had talked to myself enough to build myself up that no matter what, I was going to fake it till I make it. Like I
Okay,
would
let,
walk
let,
through those
let me pause
doors.
you. Let me pause you right there.
Yeah.
So you talked yourself, say that again. You talked
I,
yourself into it?
oh yeah, I talked myself into it.
Like like specifically, like what did you say? Like I am good enough.
Well,
I am,
full transparency.
yeah.
I had lost 87 pounds and things didn't look the way I hoped they would look after losing 87 pounds. Okay.
Okay.
That's just complete vanity there. I waved one day and, this part waved back. So I got online, I found a workout program, and by having that, found someone to work out with and got more confident. Like the more you know, the better you feel about something when you go in.
Yeah. Well,
For me that way.
having more education, knowledge, and
Yeah.
training too. Yeah. Okay.
And then I fell in love with it because I loved the challenge. It gave me something to look forward to. I
Okay.
hated the soreness. I hated the the fatigue. I hated just being overwhelmed at times. But I, at that time in my life, needed something to connect with, and exercise allowed me to connect with myself.
Okay, now what would
So,
you tell other women or your clients who are like where you were at the beginning that are not in love with exercise or even where they are in life right now? And how do you guide them, or what tips, I guess, strategies would you give them?
well, some of my clients have never fallen in love with the process. I mean, that's just, we're not always going to love everything that we do, but why do we do it? What is the benefit to it? I mean, we pay taxes, but we don't like it. So, you know,
I hate taxes.
yeah, there's
Don't
things that we
remind
have
me
to do.
because that's coming up in like 4 or 5 months.
I know. I don't like it either. But we
Yeah.
just, sometimes we have to do the things that we don't like to do to get something that we do want.
That's a good
You know,
point.
the
Yeah.
process is not always going to be easy. But generally, when I meet with a woman first, I want to make sure there's a good connection before they even train with me, because if we don't mesh personality wise, it may not work out very well. And this is about them. So I need to make sure that everything I do is going to be about them. But when we want to understand why they're doing it, and not your typical why, but get down deep into it as to what they can find in there that they can connect with. And sometimes I'm finding a majority of women, once they discover that they're getting stronger, that they can do something they didn't think they could do, like deadlift 320 pounds off the ground, they feel pretty,
Is that your
pretty
deadlift
great about
right now?
themselves.
Is that your deadlift right now? I'm just asking.
Huh? You heard deadlift.
Is that your deadlift right now?
No,
Three
no, no. Mine was 230 just because I was always running marathons, but a
hundred.
client, she deadlifted 320.
Wow. Well, you still beat me. Mine was 225. But what would you say has been the biggest factor for you to then develop into the woman that you are today? And how can someone learn from your story?
The woman I am today is because I've experienced a lot of hurt and a lot of just things in life not always going the way I had hoped they would go.
Yeah.
Instead of just wallowing in it, I used it for something else. And when I began training, I just simply completely different reason than now. It's like I got super fit, like was thin but extremely fit. And then I started training women and I started hearing their stories and the brokenness came across, and they expressed such vulnerability with me. And I realized that it's not always about being fit or how thin we can be. It's just about feeling safe in that moment or feeling strong in something or that somebody was listening to them for the first time. So if I can play a part in that story, that's why I do what I do.
So,
And by doing that, it helped me become stronger that way for myself.
so your why then is to empower other women
Yeah.
to get where you are now.
No, if I can help them become stronger, it shows me that I can be even stronger because I know I'm not where I need to be yet completely.
That gives me goosebumps. Wow. I have chills. Your story is a little bit similar to mine. In my journey, when I learned to run too, I became very, very fit, but I was not healthy or happy. As I say now, happy, healthy, and inspired. I was none of the above. I was fit, but I was not happy. I was not healthy. I was
Same.
not inspired. Yeah, that's a bit of a different journey. What's the biggest challenge you see in working with a lot of these women?
The belief in themselves,
Okay.
overcoming the programming that they taught themselves. We all have that narrative that we tell ourselves every day, and it's overcoming that.
Well, what is some of that narrative, if I may ask?
Well, somebody like they'll never be able to lift that kind of weight, or they're always going to look the same, or they're always going to struggle with emotional eating, or it's just, and I train a lot of women in perimenopause. So you've got that transitional stage. So you've got hormone fluctuations at the time too, which can play with our emotions, or you've got women transitioning through empty nest syndrome. So, you've got it's like all of a sudden their purpose has changed. And so exercise for them gives them something other than just focusing on their current life situation.
That's huge because I think, and I don't know, but maybe a lot of women think exercise is just exercise, but there's so much more to it then, huh?
To me, it's much more than exercise.
Yeah, I'm just listening to you here now. I'm starting to understand that more. For me, at the beginning, it was just exercise. Let me ask you this because this is something that I did throughout my journey, even with running.
I got involved. I ran a marathon. I got involved in triathlons initially as because of my ego. I'll say that as a dare with a friend. She came to me. I remember this story. I'll just real quick for our listeners. I was at the YMCA one day back in my hometown, and she was there training one day, and she goes, "Oh, Brad, I'm going to run a marathon." And I just went, "What?" I never really even heard of that. She was a brand new beginner runner. Like she'd never even done a 5K. And I just looked at her and said, "You know how far that is?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "You know how long that's going to take you to train and all that?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I was just really impressed by that. Well, me being the person I am with my ego, having to one up her, I can't remember, it was a day or two later, I was back at the Y and I saw a poster for a triathlon, do your sprint triathlon. And I said, "Oh, this has three disciplines, not just one." So I'm going to outdo her. So I spent, long story short, I spent the next 7 years doing running, training, triathlons, all of this, but I did it for all the wrong reasons. I did it all out of fear because I said, that's why I said I got fit, but I was not happy or healthy. If I do this, then people will think value of me. They'll respect me. They'll think worthiness of me. And it wasn't until just in the last couple of years that I switched from fear to love.
Mhm.
Has that been something in your journey? Do you see that in your clients at
Oh,
all?
very much so.
Okay.
At my most fit, I was not at my healthiest point,
Yeah.
that I had started like passing out during a run.
Wow. Yeah.
Went and had, blood work done. And at the time I was extremely tiny, and my doctor was like, you might be fit, but you are not healthy.
Yeah.
And like a doctor literally told me to gain some body fat, gain
Mhm.
some weight. Um, and my need to run like 60 to 90 miles a week. I mean, you're a runner, that's not exactly healthy. And lifting 2 hours a day in a gym, I never gave my body time to recover, and I overdid volume. And it was, I mean, all of a sudden I felt so good about myself. Like I can do this. And it's like I needed one good thing that I could hold on to. And I became a little obsessive about it. And then you realize even exercise, something that's good for you, can be very unhealthy.
That's what happened to me too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's more like, okay, I want to move freely as I get older. I want to feel good in my body, not have joint pain or inflammation. So who I was at 40 exercising is not who I am at 53 exercising.
I'm learning that the same too. Yeah, I overdid it this past week and had some very significant soreness, pain issues the last couple of days. So how did you switch from overtraining, obsessiveness, all that to learning to simply love yourself? And now it seems like you exercise out of pure joy and fun.
And mental health, yes.
Yeah,
But it
too.
keeps me focused. I woke up a few years ago and I was like, I'm tired being in pain every day, like sore,
Okay.
just sore all the time. Just if I would touch my quad, it would be so painful. And I was spending more in recovery care, I felt, than that was necessary, like chiropractors, um, oh, everything that you do when you're a runner, like tape your legs, the scraping of the muscles. I can't think of the names right now, but it became almost too overwhelming, and it wasn't joyful anymore. It became more of a chore. It became more of I have to versus I get to. And even with weight training, I can be very competitive by nature. So if I go in a gym around other lifters, I will lift more than you. It's like I will hurt myself to prove a point. So I had to learn to kind of separate myself from that and just, why do I do this? If it's not helping me, then why am I doing it? And I don't run anymore. I haven't ran in about a year. The goal is to get back to it, but I want to approach it in the right way the next time, you know.
That's, yeah, very similar. I had to approach it from a place of what I call peace and love versus a place of fear. You made a huge point just a second ago, a have to or a must to versus a get to. That's huge for anyone listening. That's, if you ask me what keeps me motivated or what helps to get someone motivated, it's when you have that mindset of you get to do this versus you have to do this. So what, when you woke up that one day and you were sore as can be and everything, what made you understand then that, oh, this is something I get to do? And then I assume you backed off on your training and all that and took a very
I
different.
took a few months off.
Yeah, okay.
I did. the last marathon that I was going to run, that I was training for, I had a femoral nerve injury and it just got too painful to keep running. I was out one Saturday morning. I had ran 15 miles and it just hurt.
Mm.
And I don't know if you ever had nerve pain, but it's like this burning, searing pain.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, we could talk about that off camera too. A sciatic nerve pain, extensive, yeah.
Um, it just, I woke up that Saturday, and I was just like, why am I even doing this? What is the purpose of this? And a goal is changeable. I mean, it's adaptable. So, like, yes, the goal was to run a marathon, but it doesn't mean I have to run that marathon. And now I have fought with myself over the last few years with running because I identified as a runner. Okay,
Okay.
that became my identity.
What's
Like
your
I have a
identity?
wall of medals. I go by and I touch those medals, and it reminds me of everything I've accomplished. And then I realize what all I hurt in the process of doing that. So I don't identify that way as much anymore as being that person. I'm a person who can get to run now versus I have to run. If I want to run, I'll run. If I don't, I don't.
So what's your identity now then, if it's not a runner?
I think I'm still discovering that because life is ever changing right now, especially for me and some personal things that like my daughter's 18, she's graduated, I'll soon be an empty nester, you
Mm.
know, that mom thing is shifting. Just a lot of things are changing for me. I try to just identify as a woman who I hope people will remember as somebody who's empathetic and compassionate to others and a goal to help people. That's who I want to be.
That's huge. You just said that's who I want to be.
Mhm.
I would cross the want to be part out and say that's who you are now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I never met you personally, but yeah, I can feel the vulnerability and sense of your story coming through the screen. Um, what's your top advice regarding confidence and being fit, being healthy, whatever? What would your take home piece of advice be today for anyone listening?
How to be confident or
Just in regards to everything we've talked about, like confidence, exercise, healthiness, whatever. What was your
one of the questions I ask a potential client is, what does a healthy you mean to you? What does that look like?
That's a great
Okay,
question.
because I don't know what a healthy Brad is to you. I can't define that for you. So if you can define what healthy is for you, then we will backtrack it and create the habits that are going to help you achieve that. And remember, that is adaptable. We change all the time. We can start a process and realize, I don't like this,
Yeah.
right? I'm not married to it. I don't have to be attached to it. But it's just discovering who you want to be. What does that look like? And then what do we do to get there?
Yeah, that's fine. That's very similar to mine. So let me ask you your own question then.
Mhm.
What is healthy for you, Michelle?
Right now, a healthy Michelle is somebody who can sleep through the night, regulate her eating, and exercise a few times a week.
And how's
It's as simple as you can get. I
yeah,
just want peace in my life, and I want whatever that I do to just be comfortable on that part. And like I enjoy moving my body, like doing something every day, no matter what that looks like. And when I can achieve that, I know that I'm just at my healthiest self and not somebody that's tearing herself down internally because I'm not doing something.
yeah. And so how's that new version or definition of health working for you? Are you able to, I guess, stay focused on that?
Mhm. I think I'm doing pretty well right now. I'm at the most peace I've been in a very long time.
Okay.
I'm the most confident physically, even though I'm not as strong as I used to be. And I'm comfortable in my own body.
Okay, well, let me ask you this too, real quick, before we start to wrap up here. This has happened to me. I think the expression is you fall off the horse. How do you get back on? So have you lost motivation? Have you lost focus or anything like
Oh,
that?
definitely.
Falling off
Not
the
nobody stays focused on something entirely. But for me, it's not what I do today that actually matters. It's what I'm going to continue to do long term that matters. So I give myself grace. I mean, there was a period recently I didn't move for 3 months. I mean, it's just so many other things took my mental energy that I could not apply it to myself. But I'm back to doing it. It's not what we always do in that one day, it's what we do long term. That's the motto I apply to myself.
That's huge too. And anyone listening, something you just said that's real important, you give yourself grace.
Mhm.
Yeah, anyone listening, that's been such a huge part of my journey, learning to give myself grace. Real quick, Michelle, how have you learned to give yourself grace, and what does that look like for you?
Okay, I'm one of those people that is very thorough in like asking questions. So I sit myself down and I ask myself all the questions. Okay, how is this working for you? Why do you feel this way? You can tell all the years of therapy are coming out, or all the books that I read come out. And also, how would I talk to my daughter? How would I want my daughter to talk to herself? How would I talk to a friend? You know, I'm trying to treat myself as a friend right now, but also I'm surrounded by a very great community of women who don't allow me to beat myself up. They remind me of who I am. So when I'm feeling down, I call one of them.
So
And that's what I am for the ladies that train with me. When they feel down, they call me.
a strong support network too, then.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
truly matters.
This has been very eye-opening and enlightening for me, Michelle. Thank you for being here today. Anything else that you would like to say or add to the conversation that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
Well, if a person is struggling with confidence, I would just want them to sit down and ask themselves why they're struggling and remember that they are enough. It's just you have that chance to change at any time, and it's your opportunity to do that. But you have to do it yourself. You have to make that change for you.
That's huge. Yeah. I always like to ask the question, what's blocking me from being confident? I'm same as you. The books come out, the therapy sessions come out, the why am I feeling this way? What is keeping me from being the confident person that I am? All those questions start to come out.
I just remind myself I'm confident in some things, but I'm not confident in everything.
Yeah.
But the confidence gives you the ability to try something new.
Yeah. Yeah. I've come a long way though in just believing in myself and who I am,
Mhm.
regardless of what I'm doing. Michelle, do you have I didn't ask you this in the beginning. Do you have a website or anything? Or if someone is here locally, they want to train with you, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
Um, Most people contact me through Facebook, my business page, Be Inspired Fitness, or my personal page, or through Instagram. Most of my clients are referral based here
Okay.
locally, and what clients I've trained virtually has been through social media.
Social media. Okay. I'll go ahead and put your Facebook page and that and your Be Inspired Fitness on the show notes. And for anyone listening, thank you very much for being here today. If you've gotten anything out of this episode, I would super appreciate if you would share this episode far and wide. I'm in 55 countries right now. I'd like to get to 75. And the more people we can reach around the world, the better. And if you've gotten anything out of this, I also ask that you hit that subscribe button and leave me a review. I would super appreciate that as well. And Michelle, thank you so much again for being here. And for everyone, as I always say at the end, live happy, healthy, and inspired. Take care. We'll see you next time.